Madeline Parker sat at her kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window, catching the soft gold of her hair and glinting off the small silver ring she rubbed nervously. Her phone buzzed again, and she saw the familiar group chat title, Parker Sisters, lighting up the screen. She hesitated, fingers hovering above the keyboard. Today was the day she had decided to announce her choice, and she knew there would be a reaction. She took a deep breath and typed, then paused. This was her moment, her baby, her story. She hit send. Hey, just wanted to let you both know I've decided on the date for my baby shower. I'm going to plan it myself, and I'd love your help in choosing decorations, food, and games. Can't wait to celebrate. The silence after sending the message felt deafening, even though the chat bubble showed they were typing. Her oldest sister, Jessica, was the first to respond. Wait, you're planning it yourself? That's what we're supposed to do, Jessica typed, the words carrying more weight than the casual tone of the text suggested. Her stomach twisted. She had expected this reaction, but she had hoped for a little more understanding. She remembered the way things had always been. She had been excited for her sister's baby showers, truly, but every time she thought about helping plan, she had been shut out. For Jessica's first child, the shower had been canceled because the baby arrived early, and Madeline had never been asked to contribute to any planning. For the second child, she had been told the details the week of the event, no questions asked. Her other sister, Lauren, had followed a similar pattern. By the time Lauren's baby shower rolled around, Madeline had assumed she was just not supposed to be involved, and the expectation was only that she attend. She had always shown up, smiling, making small talk, trying to blend into the crowd while aunts and cousins fussed over pink and blue decorations, never imagining that one day she would feel left out in her own family's milestones. Madeline texted back carefully, choosing her words as if stepping through a room full of fragile glass. I know that's the tradition, and I really want your input. I've looked forward to planning my own shower. I want it to feel like my first big moment as a mom, too. Jessica's reply came faster this time, sharp and slightly annoyed. I've been looking forward to this since you told us you were pregnant. I wanted to help make it special for you. Why are you taking over? Lauren didn't reply at all. Madeline stared at the screen, the blue ticks mocking her. She felt a swirl of emotions, guilt, frustration, longing, and the odd pang of defiance. She knew she wasn't doing anything wrong. She was an adult now, and this was her baby, her milestone. But she also knew that family traditions ran deep. Her mind drifted back to that early Saturday morning when Jessica had first called her to announce the birth of her second child. Madeline was excited, thrilled even, but she remembered feeling invisible. She had tried to help, suggesting ideas for themes and games, even offering to drive to the store or help set up. Each time she had been brushed off, politely. Oh, it's okay, I've got it covered, or you're busy, don't worry about it. And Lauren was no different. For her shower, Madeline had been expected to show up and smile at strangers, shake hands, and pretend she hadn't wanted to help plan every tiny detail of the party. She had spent hours thinking of gifts, decorating ideas, even special games that would honor the mom-to-be, and each time she had been sidelined. Now it was her turn, and she wanted to feel included in a way she had never felt before. She wanted her baby shower to be hers, to celebrate her journey into motherhood with the people she loved, while still letting her sisters contribute. It wasn't a rejection of them, it was a reclamation of her own experience. Madeline set down her phone and sighed. She went to the living room, sank into her soft beige sofa, and ran her hands over her rounded belly. Feeling the small kicks from inside, she whispered softly, "This is for you, little one. And it's okay to stand up for what I want." Later that evening, the tension in the Parker household was palpable. Jessica had called, voice tight with emotion. "I just don't get it, Maddie. We're your sisters. We should do this. Why are you taking it away from us?" Madeline spoke slowly, choosing each word with care. I know you want to do it, Jess. I appreciate it. But I've never had a chance to plan one myself. I want to feel like I'm celebrating this moment for me, too. I want your input, your help, but I need to be in charge of the plans. This isn't about excluding you, it's about me being part of the process this time. There was silence on the line, the kind that made her heart ache with both hope and fear. She knew her words were true. She knew this wasn't selfish. It was overdue. Still, she could hear the tension in her sister's voice, the hurt mingled with the love. By the next morning, Madeline had already started making lists. She wrote down potential venues, foods, games, guest lists, and decoration themes. She spent hours scrolling through Pinterest boards, making notes in her little notebook with colorful tabs and sticky notes. She imagined a modern, cozy brunch with soft pastels, fresh flowers, and a menu filled with homemade pastries and mimosas. She pictured her closest friends laughing as they played games, decorating onesies, and writing heartfelt notes for the baby book that she had been saving for months. Still, she knew the hardest part wasn't the planning. It was navigating the emotions of her sisters. She wanted them involved, and she wanted to honor their role as family, but she also wanted them to understand that her experience didn't have to mirror theirs. She couldn't help but replay the old scenes in her mind. The way she had been left out before, the polite dismissals, the well-meaning but excluding gestures. She decided to try one more approach. She texted both sisters, I really want this to be a celebration for all of us. I'm planning it, but I want your ideas, your favorite games, and any traditions you think would be special. Can we make this a team effort? Jessica responded, slowly and cautiously, Okay, I guess we can do that. I just want to be involved, Maddie. It feels weird not being the ones in charge. Lauren finally typed, after a long pause. Fine, just let me know what you need. Madeline felt a small rush of relief. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. She knew she couldn't change the past or how her sisters had handled their own showers, but she could shape her own experience, a celebration that honored her journey into motherhood while still making room for her sisters to share in the joy. As the weeks passed, the Parker sisters slowly found a rhythm. Jessica suggested a flower crown station for guests to make and wear, a nod to her own shower traditions. Lauren offered to create a playlist filled with favorite lullabies and upbeat songs that had made her own pregnancies joyful. Madeline listened, incorporated their ideas, and carefully orchestrated every detail with her own vision at the center. On the day of the shower, the small rented hall glowed with soft sunlight through the windows. Pastel balloons floated above tables, adorned with delicate pastries, homemade cookies, and tiny baby-themed favors. The guests laughed, sipped mimosas, and played games. Madeline watched, heart full, as her sisters took part in the celebration. Not as controllers, not as overseers, but as contributors to a moment that was hers. When Jessica hugged her tightly, whispering, I see now, this is yours, I'm proud of you, Madeline felt the last pieces of tension melt away. Lauren squeezed her hand and smiled shyly, finally understanding. For the first time, she realized that traditions could evolve, family could adapt, and a celebration could honor one person's journey while still letting loved ones share in the joy. Her baby's first party was hers to shape, hers to remember, and hers to love. And in that moment, Madeline understood that standing up for herself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. In the days following her message, Madeline found herself reflecting on the tangled mix of love and frustration she felt toward her sisters. She remembered long drives to visit them, imagining herself folding napkins into perfect shapes or selecting tiny baby gifts that matched the theme, only to be met with polite dismissals. And yet she still loved them fiercely. It was this complicated love that made the confrontation in the chat feel heavier than she expected. She started keeping a little journal, writing down every idea that crossed her mind. She sketched layouts for tables, color palettes, and even drew tiny banners that spelled out her baby's name. There was a joy in planning, a feeling of control she had never experienced at family gatherings before. Each note, each little sticky tab made her feel closer to the celebration she had dreamed of since discovering she was pregnant. Still, every time her phone buzzed, her heart skipped. She worried that one wrong word might make Jessica feel excluded, or that Lauren's silence might signal resentment. Madeline was learning, slowly, how to navigate the fine line between asserting her own desires and honoring her family's feelings. One afternoon, she invited her sisters over to go over ideas. Jessica arrived first. Looking hesitant but curious, she carried a small notebook of her own, filled with color swatches and notes about games and favors. Lauren showed up later, clutching a playlist she had curated, shuffling through songs nervously before offering them to Madeline. They spent hours together laughing over silly game ideas, debating the best flavor combinations for cupcakes, and agreeing on the perfect floral arrangements. There were moments of tension, subtle and fleeting, a disagreement over whether to include a certain decoration or what type of drink to serve. But Madeline learned to listen, compromise, and lead without diminishing their input. At one point, Lauren quietly suggested a small slideshow of baby photos from when she and Jessica had been young mothers themselves. Madeline loved the idea. It was a sweet nod to the past, a way of weaving their shared history into her own celebration. "This will be perfect," she said softly, realizing that her sister's involvement added layers of warmth to the day rather than taking control from her. Even as the date approached, Madeline felt a nervous excitement. She spent evenings labeling party favors, baking cookies, and perfecting the layout for the tables. Sometimes she paused, hand on her belly, feeling the baby kick as if an encouragement. The small moments, the ways sunlight fell across the tablecloth, the faint scent of freshly baked treats, made her feel deeply connected to the life growing inside her. She also began thinking about the guests she wanted to invite: friends from college, neighbors she had grown close to, coworkers who had become like family. She wanted everyone to feel welcome, to celebrate not just the baby, but the journey of motherhood and sisterhood intertwined. Madeline also reflected on her own feelings of inclusion, or lack thereof in the past. It wasn't bitterness that drove her, but a desire to experience what she had never been given. And yet, as she watched her sister's excitement grow over the shared ideas, she realized that the old pain was slowly fading. It didn't vanish completely, but it softened, making room for forgiveness, understanding, and love. The night before the shower, she sat in her apartment, surrounded by stacks of invitations, decorations, and tiny party favors. She felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Would the day go smoothly? Would her sisters feel respected? Would the guests enjoy the celebration she had poured herself into? She reminded herself that this was her day, her experience, her joy, and it was okay for it to be exactly what she envisioned. When she finally went to bed, the glow of her laptop screen dimmed. Madeline whispered to the baby growing inside her belly, "Tomorrow is our day, little one. We did this together." She drifted off to sleep, feeling a quiet pride, a calm certainty that she had made the right choice, standing up for herself, balancing love for her sisters, and embracing this new chapter in her life. Even as she slept, she dreamed of the celebration, seeing herself surrounded by family and friends, her sisters laughing, contributing in ways that felt meaningful, and herself at the heart of it all. In that dream, the room was filled with warmth, pastel colors, and laughter, and she knew, deep in her soul, that she had created something beautiful, a memory she and her baby would cherish forever. Morning came slowly, the first light spilling across Madeline's bedroom, catching the soft curve of her belly. She woke with a fluttering in her chest, part excitement, part nerves. Today was the day, the culmination of weeks of planning, lists, and careful compromises. Her baby shower wasn't just a party, it was a declaration of her place in her own life, a quiet affirmation that she could both lead and include the people she loved. She padded to the kitchen in her slippers, the faint scent of coffee already drifting from the neighbor downstairs. Pulling out her notebook, she ran her fingers over her meticulously scribbled lists one last time. Tables, food, games, flowers, favors. Even small things, like the tiny jars of lavender-scented candles she had chosen as guest gifts, felt meaningful. Each detail was a thread weaving her story together, her voice as a mother intertwining with the laughter and love of family and friends. The phone buzzed on the counter. A message from Jessica. "On my way. Can't wait to see everything." Madeline smiled, feeling a twinge of relief. Jessica's willingness to participate, even after their earlier tension, reminded her that love often required patience. A few minutes later, Lauren texted, "I've got the playlist ready. Hope you like it." Her fingers tightened around the phone, a little laugh escaping her lips. Even Lauren, usually quiet in moments like these, wanted to contribute. By mid-morning, the rented hall was alive with movement. Madeline arrived first, carrying baskets of decorations and favors. She set to work arranging tables in soft pastel patterns, flowers spilling from glass vases, ribbons fluttering gently from chairs. The aroma of freshly baked pastries mingled with the faint scent of lavender from the candles she had lined along the windowsills. Jessica arrived shortly after, arms filled with extra supplies she had insisted on bringing. "I thought we could add a banner here," she said, adjusting a string of gold-lettered letters that spelled out the baby's name. Madeline stepped back, considering it. It was perfect. She realized then that her sister's involvement wasn't a threat, it was a gift. Together, they were creating something more beautiful than she could have imagined alone. Lauren slipped in quietly, balancing a small stack of plates and her phone ready to play the curated playlist. She hesitated for a moment, then smiled at Madeline. "I think we've got everything," she said softly. Her voice carried a gentle pride, the kind that comes from finally feeling seen. They worked together, laughing as a few small mistakes popped up, one banner slightly crooked, a few cupcakes sliding off their tray, but the imperfections only made the morning feel alive. Madeline felt her anxiety melt with each passing hour, replaced by an almost tangible joy. She could feel her baby stirring, tiny movements echoing the rhythm of her excitement. By the time guests began arriving, the hall had transformed into a warm, inviting space. Friends, family, neighbors, some of whom had known her for years, others just a few months, flowed in, their smiles and congratulations filling the room. Madeline greeted each person with a hug and a quick laugh, feeling the soft pull of the new life growing inside her as she moved from table to table. The games began with gentle chaos, diaper decorating contests, baby-themed trivia, and guessing the flavor of various cupcakes. Jessica's flower crown station was a hit, the pastel blooms crowning every guest with laughter and photo opportunities. Lauren's playlist set the tone, moving from soft lullabies to upbeat, joyful tunes that had everyone swaying, clapping, and joining in the fun. Through it all, Madeline kept stealing glances at her sisters. Jessica, usually so confident, now moved with a careful attentiveness, smiling at her youngest nieces and nephews as they tugged at ribbons. Lauren, quiet but steady, floated through the room, making sure every detail was right. Madeline realized how deeply she loved watching them contribute, not as controllers, not as critics, but as sisters sharing in a memory she had fought for herself.
At one point, Madeline sank into a chair, cradling her belly as she watched a group of friends laughing over a diaper decorating contest. The sun streamed through the tall windows, catching the pastel balloons and ribbons, illuminating the room with a soft golden glow. She felt a gentle kick, almost as if her baby were joining in the celebration. Her eyes filled with tears of happiness, unspoken gratitude washing over her. Later, when it was time for speeches, her best friend Claire stood with a small card in hand. "Madeline," she began, voice warm and steady, "you've created something beautiful here. Not just a party, but a moment that honors your journey. Your baby is lucky to already have so much love surrounding them, and I think everyone here can feel it too." Applause echoed through the hall. Madeline's heart swelled. Her eyes found her sisters in the crowd. Jessica's lips were pressed together, holding back tears, while Lauren's hands were clasped over her chest, a shy, proud smile on her face. Madeline realized in that moment that the tension from the past weeks had dissolved into something deeper: connection, understanding, and love. When the day wound down, guests began to leave, carrying small favors, stories of laughter, and memories of the warmth that had filled the hall. Madeline stood near the exit, her sisters on either side, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly whole. This had been her day, her vision, her creation, but it had also become a shared experience, layered with love, compromise, and togetherness. As the last guest waved goodbye, Madeline sank on a sofa, hand on her belly, a soft smile on her face. She felt a gentle kick, a small reminder of the life growing inside her, and whispered, "We did this, little one. We made a memory that will stay with us forever." Her sisters flanked her, and for a long moment, no one spoke. The room was quiet except for the faint rustle of decorations settling back into place. Then Jessica squeezed her hand. "I'm proud of you, Maddie. You made this ours, and still entirely yours." Lauren nodded beside her, a soft smile lighting her face. Madeline felt her chest tighten, a mixture of relief and joy washing over her. She realized finally that traditions didn't have to be rigid. Family didn't have to follow the same patterns, the same roles, the same expectations. Love and celebration could bend, expand, and grow. What mattered was that she had claimed her moment without shutting anyone out, had honored the past while embracing her own journey, and had created a space for joy, laughter, and memories. And in that quiet, glowing moment, Madeline knew that she had not only celebrated the arrival of a new life, but had also celebrated herself, her choices, her voice, and her place in a family that loved her, even when the path had been complicated. The baby's first party was hers, shared with those she loved, and it was perfect.
The day after the shower, Madeline woke slowly, her body still humming with the energy of the celebration. She ran a hand over her belly, feeling the soft stirrings of the baby, and smiled. The house was quiet now, the remnants of pastel decorations and scattered favors tucked away, leaving a calm emptiness that felt almost sacred. She poured herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the morning light spill across the living room. Her mind drifted back to yesterday, the laughter, the games, the tiny victories of a perfectly arranged table or a handmade favor that had brought a guest to tears. But alongside that warmth was a thread of unease, a quiet questioning she hadn't anticipated. She loved how the shower had gone, how her sisters had contributed, how friends had joined in creating a memory for her baby, but she couldn't shake the thought, had she done the wrong thing by planning it herself? Jessica's voice lingered in her mind, the mix of hurt and pride she had seen in her sister's eyes. I'm proud of you, Maddie. You made this ours and still entirely yours. Madeline replayed the words, weighing them against the initial tension in their group chat. Her sisters had expected to take the lead, to follow tradition, and she had sidestepped that without asking first. Was asserting herself selfish, or was it overdue fairness? She reached for her phone, hesitant, scrolling through the group chat one more time. Jessica had sent a follow-up message. I know I was upset at first, but seeing it come together, I get it now. You needed this to be yours, and it turned out beautiful. I'm glad I could help a little. Lauren had added a short note, more tentative but sincere. It was different from what I imagined, but I think it was good. You did a good job. A sigh escaped Madeline. Different from what they imagined, yes, but also necessary. She realized that their discomfort was rooted in tradition, in their own experiences of motherhood and family roles. They hadn't been excluded out of malice. They simply assumed roles and expectations that didn't align with hers. By choosing to plan her own shower, she had challenged those assumptions, not to hurt her sisters, but to honor her own experience. Madeline picked up her journal and began to write. She described how she felt, joyful, proud, but tinged with uncertainty. She wrote about the moments that had mattered most, the laughter at the games, the whispered compliments, and the tiny kicks she had felt, as if her baby were celebrating alongside them. She wrote about Jessica's soft words of pride, Lauren's shy smile, and the realization that love didn't have to be dictated by tradition. By mid-afternoon, her sisters arrived at her apartment, unannounced. Jessica carried a small bouquet of flowers, Lauren a box of homemade cookies. They settled on the sofa together, the atmosphere tentative but warm. Jessica spoke first. I've been thinking a lot about yesterday. At first I felt pushed aside, but seeing you happy, seeing how much thought you put into everything, I get it now. I don't think you were wrong to plan it yourself. Lauren nodded, a little awkwardly. Yeah, I was worried I'd feel left out, but it felt like we were part of it anyway, in the right way. I think maybe it was better this way. Madeline felt a wave of relief wash over her. The tension from the past weeks didn't disappear completely, but it had softened. She realized that what had felt like defiance had been an opportunity for growth, for herself and her sisters. I wasn't trying to shut you out, I just needed to experience this moment in my own way, and I wanted you to be part of it too. Jessica reached over and squeezed her hand. You did the right thing, Maddie. And honestly, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I don't think it made you the asshole, it made you brave. Lauren smiled, nodding in agreement. Yeah, it's okay to do things differently. I see that now. Madeline looked at her sisters, feeling the complex mix of love and relief settle into her chest. Traditions were important, but not at the cost of one's own joy. Family bonds could bend without breaking, and standing up for herself didn't have to mean pushing them away. That night, as she sat alone with a cup of tea, she reflected on the lessons she had learned. Sometimes being right wasn't about following the expected rules. It was about listening to one's own heart while still holding space for those you love. She smiled at the thought, feeling the baby stir again, small but insistent. She whispered into the quiet apartment, We did this, little one. We made something beautiful, our way, and we did it together, even when it didn't follow the rules. For the first time in weeks, she felt fully at peace. The shower was more than a celebration. It was proof that she could assert herself, honor traditions selectively, and create memories that included both her desires and the love of her family.
Weeks passed, and life gradually returned to its usual rhythm. Madeline spent quiet mornings journaling, afternoons preparing the nursery, and evenings catching up with friends. Yet even as the days flowed steadily, she could feel subtle changes in the way her family moved around her. Conversations had softened, laughter came easier,
and the unspoken tension that had shadowed the shower had almost completely dissolved. One afternoon, Madeline's sisters, Jessica and Lauren, invited her out for coffee at a small cafe they had loved since childhood. They arrived together, arms linked and smiles shy but genuine. For the first few moments, the conversations skirted casual topics: work, neighbors, small family updates. Then, Jessica set down her cup and looked directly at Madeline. "I've been thinking," she began, voice steady, "about the shower. And about you. I want to say, you weren't the asshole. I know at first I felt hurt, like I should have been in control. But watching how you planned everything, how you included us without letting us take over, it made me realize how brave you were." Lauren reached across the table and touched Madeline's hand. "Me too," she said softly. "I wasn't sure at first, and I even worried about feeling left out. But now, I see it differently. You did what you needed to do. You led with love, not selfishness. That counts more than tradition." Madeline felt a rush of warmth she hadn't expected. The tight knot of guilt and uncertainty that had lingered after the shower melted away. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling slightly. "That means more than I can say. I just wanted to experience it, to celebrate this moment in a way that felt like mine, but I also wanted you both there. I'm glad we found that balance." Jessica smiled, a trace of relief in her eyes. "You know, it's taught me something too. Traditions are important, yes, but they don't have to be rigid. Sometimes stepping aside, or stepping up, can make the memories stronger for everyone." Lauren nodded in agreement. "I think this is going to change the way we do things as a family. We can honor the past, but we don't have to be trapped by it. We can grow." Madeline felt her heart swell with pride and gratitude. She realized that standing up for herself had not only preserved her own joy, but had also taught her sisters something invaluable: that love and inclusion were not about control. They were about trust, respect, and communication. As they left the cafe together, walking in the warm afternoon sunlight, Madeline glanced at her sisters and smiled. She could see it in the way they moved together now: lighter, freer, more connected. The subtle judgment and tension had faded, replaced by understanding and respect. She no longer carried the question in her heart. She knew she had done right. She had not been the asshole. That evening, back at home, Madeline sat quietly in the nursery, her hand resting gently on her belly. The baby shifted, tiny kicks pressing into her palm. She whispered softly, "We did it, little one. We found our way together. Your family, our family, is strong because we love, we listen, and we grow." She looked around the room: soft pastels, tiny clothes neatly folded, gifts from friends and family, and felt a deep, unwavering sense of peace. The shower had ended, but its lessons had begun to root. Madeline knew now that life would bring challenges, disagreements, and moments of doubt, but she also knew she had the courage to navigate them, the wisdom to listen, and the love to bind them all together. And in that quiet, golden light, Madeline realized the truth she had liars, and including her family in the right ways had not only made her stronger, it had brought everyone closer. The baby's first celebration had been hers, shared with those she loved, and it had set the tone for a family that could bend without breaking. For Madeline, that knowledge was the real gift.